What's up, guys? What's up, guys? It's Chris, sir. I bring you another edition of the Car Concierge Show, the show that helps with the buying, selling, maintaining, and repairing of your vehicle. On today's show, we're going to dive into a little bit of more recall talk as we talk about one of the more reliable automakers coming out with recalls on their part. And last but not least, we're going to talk about the police and the way they have been patrolling and protecting our roadways. We're going to talk about a situation where a young man decided that during a police chase, he's going to pull over and get him some gas and still get away. And then, of course, we're going to talk about a situation over in Tennessee where a police officer decided that he was going to falsify a couple arrest records so he can get his DUI arrest record up and prove that he's probably just one of the worst police officers out there. All right, so let's jump straight into it. We're going to first, of course, jump into our usual recall talk. And this week, it's a little bit different. It's more a reliable automaker that is in the news about a recall. Let's check it out. So, of course, we're going to head over to Yahoo Autos. And this is from Autoblog, another Toyota recall, why the most reliable brand keeps making headlines. And this is from Simran Rastogi, and it's from Friday, September 5th. Toyota's reliability reputation under pressure. Toyota and Lexus are recalling approximately 62,000 vehicles in the United States due to a potentially dangerous defroster malfunction that could reduce driver visibility and increase crash risk. The recall affects certain units of the electric Toyota BZ4X, Lexus RZ300E, and RZ450E vehicles where the windshield defroster may not remove frost, ice, and fog from the windshield due to a software issue in the electrical control unit. Toyota's once bulletproof reputation for reliability has taken several hits recently, particularly with newer vehicle launches. The company's electrical vehicle rollout has been especially problematic, with the BZ4X experiencing multiple recalls since launch, while traditional models like the Tundra have suffered from serious engine problems requiring complete replacement, with more than 140,000 vehicles recalled in 2025. Toyota's quality control processes are facing increased scrutiny. Software bug causes major visibility problems. The defective defroster system could significantly reduce driver visibility, particularly during cold weather conditions when frost and fog naturally accumulate on windshields. This creates a safety hazard that could lead to accidents, especially in regions experiencing seasonal temperature changes. The recall specifically targets Toyota's electric vehicle lineup, including the BZ4X crossover and Lexus luxury electric SUVs, the RZ300E and RZ450E. Toyota and Lexus dealers will update the software of the electrical control unit free of charge. For proper peace of mind, dealers will also inspect and replace the electro HVAC compressor if necessary, again at no cost. Toyota's recent recall history. This latest recall adds to Toyota's growing list of safety issues in 2025. Earlier this year, the company recalled approximately 41,000 Toyota Camry and Lexus NX RX vehicles in February. Issued recalls for brake caliper problems affecting RAV4 and NX models, and dealt with serious engine failure issues affecting over 100,000 Tundra and Lexus LX vehicles due to metallic residues from manufacturing. Similar defroster and climate control recalls have plagued Toyota before, though typically involving mechanical components rather than software issues. The company's reputation has faced challenges in recent years due to problems with electric motors, transmissions, temperature controls, and in-car electronics, particularly affecting infotainment systems and touchscreen interfaces. Toyota, once synonymous with quality and reliability, is now making headlines regularly for safety recalls. The irony isn't lost on us. Alright, so what we can really say is that Toyota, once one of the more reliable automakers, of course, is dealing with recalls just like any of the other automakers that we've talked about in the recent weeks, specifically Ford. And of course, we know why, and I talk about it pretty regularly, that it's just a lack of research and development and a desire to get, newer models out with more fancy equipment, with more of the technology that people like. with the infotainment and the big old screens that people like. And this is a lot of the problems that Ford's having because they're just not testing these things out on a true research and development way, that they're finding these problems prior to them getting out onto the roadways and people seeing these problems. Now, of course, we talk regularly about how these recalls come about, and what we're seeing is a lot more that with specifically these newer model vehicles, these recalls are coming out a lot more faster. And specifically the software recalls, because they know that they're going to have these software problems. And we talk about the fact that just like your computer at home or your phone, these with all the technology in these systems, they're going to need continuous software updates. So the recalls that are software updates are going to come hard and heavy, specifically for newer model vehicles and electronic vehicles, EV vehicles, because they're just big old computers. And them being big old computers, they're going to need massive amounts of software updates. That's why they're trying their best to streamline the system that does these software updates over the airwaves, where you don't even have to come into the dealership to get this done. It'll just send it to your vehicle, do the software update, and you're good to go. But they're still pretty far away from getting that done. There are some systems that can do that, but not in a full factor way that is taking care of the majority of the software updates. So, of course, that allows us to report these software updates to you pretty much weekly, because they're pretty much happening weekly with all of the new electric vehicles out there on the road. So, Toyota, we love Toyota. I have several Toyotas in my fleet. I'm not going to ever say that Toyota is a bad company, but it is just like other automakers when it is deciding that it is going to bypass research and development and get the vehicles on the road faster so that people can consume them quicker, and Toyota can get back to making the money like they used to, because a lot of automakers are just not making the ends that they used to. And they just gotta go to these measures that produce recalls because they're just not checking things out the right way. Alright, so let's jump into some police action really quickly. So our first story is a very interesting story where a young man over in LA, and you know, I used to dabble in a little criminality myself, so I'm not a one to say that I've never been in a police chase. I'm not one to say that I've never dealt with police in some heavy way, but you get to a point where when you're a criminal and you start doing criminality, you kind of plan, to get into police chases and try your best to get away. Well, this young man did it. Not only did he get away from it in a middle of a police chase, he decided he's going to stop and get gas, which is pretty impressive, even for an old criminal like me, to stop and get gas and then not only get back in your car and continue to run, but to get away. Amazing to me. Let's check the story out.
Let's get back to this breaking story. A pursuit of a stolen car suspect that covered a good portion of eastern and downtown Los Angeles, now ending here under the 10 freeway with the suspect still in the wind. Chris Christie with more. Chris.
Yeah, this pursuit termination now turning into a crime scene here. Some people coming out to take a look at what's going on along Alameda underneath the 10 freeway, where California Highway Patrol and the City of Bell Police are looking for clues as to what happened to the driver of that vehicle right there in the center of your screen, a GTA suspect behind the wheel of that stolen blue Infiniti. Jumped out of the vehicle underneath the 10 freeway. The vehicle rolled right into that light pole, and it is believed that the suspect got into another SUV underneath the freeway and basically disappeared into the night just north of the 10 freeway. And at this point, an investigation is now underway to try and figure out his next moves and what exactly happened there. Was it a meetup with a buddy, or was it a carjacking or something else? But obviously a major scene down here in East LA. Mark, back to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. They put yellow tape up. I don't know whether that was for crowd control or whether this is an indicator of something more serious or sinister happening with that vehicle. I'm guessing, given people were starting to kind of gather around it, so maybe it is just for crowd control. But yeah, it looks like you got the City of Bell, the Highway Patrol, a number of other agencies that have been involved in this. They are now looking for that other vehicle that apparently he got into. There it is in the video to your right, that SUV that sped out from underneath that overpass and took off from the scene while the stolen car just creeps toward that telephone pole and ultimately is stopped by that telephone pole. So yeah, the suspect is out. And
how can you not be kind of impressed at the ingenuity and the fortitude of this criminal, deciding that he was going to not only run from the police, but matter of fact, let's keep going. We'll get to that.
On the loose after a very wild pursuit that, among other things, saw the suspect stop for gas at a point where the police pursuing agencies had backed off. That's video we have from earlier, too. He actually stopped at this gas station, got out, filled up the tank, it would appear, and during that time, there were no police around him, no police behind him, no apparently officers above him that we know of, and so he very casually filled up the car with gas, covering his face at the time.
See, this is what I don't understand. We did a story about this not too long ago about how police are being forced or deciding in certain jurisdictions to back away from criminals, or when they're in police chases, you know, to protect the community, to protect other drivers on the road, you know, because there's lots of accidents that can happen while you're doing these police chases. So, which I totally understand. But it seems counterproductive. Now, well, I mean, I will agree that with the chopper overhead and all the other technologies that you have with cameras and everything like that, it would behoove them in some situations to keep other people safe, to back police off and to kind of stop the chase. But how can it get to the point where you do it with all of the technology that you have and the chopper overhead watching the dude get this gas? How can we sit and how can he still get away? That's the question. How, with everything that is available, how can he still get away? This is impressive. You got to be impressed with, because that is the reason most people stop doing, you know, criminality, is because of all of the technology and all of the things available to the police to catch you doing these crimes. And with all of that stuff, he still got away. It's impressive.
But you get a good look now at who this person is. Even though you don't get to see his face, you get a pretty good description of what he looks like. And he fills up the tank and then drives off. And what got him re-engaged here was the fact that he continued to drive so erratically after he had filled up his tank. For this entire time, there were no officers behind him. He could have walked away from this car and would have gotten away scot-free. He chose not to do that, instead getting back on the freeways, driving at high speeds, basically forcing police to continue to pursue him, and getting to the point where he is now under the 10 freeway, where that pursuit ended with him getting into another vehicle. We'll try to have more information for you on later editions of Eyewitness News. I guess I should say earlier editions of Eyewitness News, beginning tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. I'm Mark Brown, along with Chris Christie. Thanks for watching. Good night.
It's just, you have to, I mean, you hate to give kudos to criminals, but you have to give kudos to this guy. How did you do it? You know, did you jump into that SUV? Can they even prove that you jumped in that SUV? Did they, with the information that they have, you know, with the camera footage of you getting the gas or anything like that, are they going to be able to catch you? I mean, this guy seems to have gotten away. I mean, I suspect that with the camera technology, probably some, you know, cameras on some corners or something like that, maybe some camera under that freeway or bridge that he was under might catch a picture of his face to the point where they catch him that way. And that's a lot more of how people are getting caught, you know, doing crimes these days, is them getting caught later. They take your picture, you get caught on video, they use that video to prove who you are, and then they come pick you up at your house. And that's how most criminals get picked up these days. So, and that's the reason that it's just a dumb idea to commit crimes, specifically in this day and age. But once again, this young man committed crimes, was pretty bold about everything he did, and he still got away. And is that a statement on our police forces? Is it a statement on our ability to, catch criminals. For me, it's really a statement on how much restraint has been put on police officers and what they can do when it comes to criminals. Back when I was a kid, police could do almost anything to you. I mean, I've been, when I was committing crimes or being a kid and doing bad stuff, police could beat you up. They could jack you up. I mean, I've been in situations when I was a kid and we rolling around doing bad stuff, throwing stuff or whatever it was, police came and they checked us. They didn't throw us in jail, but they beat us up. They take us home to our parents and get us in trouble that way. Heck, some cops, depending on how old you were or what you were doing, they would force you to pay them off. I had to pay off a cop before just to get out of a bad situation that I was in. So there's been bad cops all over the place. But this is one of them situations where, the softness of the world is putting police at a disadvantage where, they can't, completely chase these criminals to the point where they can catch them and, pursue them correctly and catch them correctly. But, of course, that's because with all the other technology that's available to them, they should be able to stop them. And obviously, in some key situations, they just can't. So, last but not least, we're going to check out a story out in Tennessee where a more corrupt cop, a more bad cop, decided that he was going to get his DUI arrest numbers up by falsifying a whole bunch of, arrests. DUI arrests. Let's check this story out with this one.
It has happened again, folks. Another sober driver has come forward saying she too was arrested by a state trooper for DUI.
She now makes the 8th innocent person arrested by this single trooper for a crime she didn't commit.
Our chief investigator, Jeremy Finley, continues the sobering problem investigation tonight. Jeremy, she contacted you after seeing your last story.
Yeah, that's right, guys. It was just last week when I reported that Trooper James Zahn had arrested 7 different people for DUI, and all their blood work later came back showing they were completely sober. Jane Bondurant saw that story, and she called me saying, it happened to me too.
Put your hands straight out beside you.
So there's something you need to know right off the bat about this video of Jane Bondurant's field sobriety test last November. It is not being recorded by a fellow police officer. What made your friend think, I need to record this?
I think she was so shocked that I'd even been arrested and that I was even doing it.
Bondurant's friend started recording after Bondurant was involved in a fender bender with a Franklin police officer. THP Trooper James Zahn was then called in, writing Bondurant had bloodshot, watery eyes and appeared to be impaired.
Keep in mind, I'm 71 years old and I've just been in a wreck. I felt like I was doing really well, and I felt like my friend with me felt the same way.
Listen to what happened instead.
You're under arrest, okay?
Oh, gosh.
No.
What kind of impairment, sir?
Stay back.
What kind of impairment?
I don't know. I'm not
She followed and did everything you asked.
All that will be discussed in court.
I am in shock.
Are you really arresting me?
She didn't mention it, but Zahn wasn't arresting someone unfamiliar with law enforcement. Bondurant is a former assistant U.S. attorney. What was it like for you to be arrested for a crime you didn't commit?
Shock was the first reaction, trauma, and the trauma lasted for months because it took for months to be resolved.
And like the 7 other sober drivers charged with DUI by Zahn, Bondurant's blood work came back with no alcohol and no drugs, except for sleeping medication she'd taken the night before. The charges nollied, meaning the DA opted not to prosecute.
Yeah.
You're now the 8th sober driver to be arrested by Trooper Zahn.
I think I make people too many.
I'm wondering what you think the THP should do.
I know they've got a problem person.
And we asked Governor Lee what he thinks. I'm wondering if you feel like at this point the THP needs to be reviewing how it's conducting DWI investigations.
Well, I think we have, in fact, just in this past year, put in place a requirement from TDI to provide transparency around those cases. I think that's the first step is transparency.
He's referring to a new state law prompted by our sobering problem investigations that will require the TBI to gather all of the sober drivers arrested for DUI in Tennessee in 2025. But that report won't include cases like Bondurant's. She was arrested last November, and won't detail the impact of these arrests. For Bondurant, she learned her insurance was being dropped.
I just called the guy and said, "Is this because of the DUI?" And he said, "Yes."
Okay, so some good news. 3 days before she was to lose her insurance, the charges were nollied, and she did keep her insurance. Now, as we've done with each and every story, we reached out to the THP. They emailed me a short while ago with a statement that did not address any of our questions, saying that troopers are highly trained to identify signs of impairment. Bondurant's arrest now makes her the 16th sober Tennessean to be arrested for DUI by state troopers. Half of those arrests made by Trooper James Zahn. Marius?
Wow, Jeremy, they just keep coming.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And it's really, the worst part about that is that there was no, there's nothing going to happen to the police officer. The police department didn't even state that there was something wrong. And we're talking about 16 situations where lives have been interrupted, destroyed, or overturned because of a DUI arrest. A DUI arrest could destroy certain people's lives. You could lose your job, you could lose your insurance. There's so many things that could happen because you get this DUI arrest. And the fact that at even 8, but more 16 people have went through this and nothing has changed or nothing has been done about it is a major problem. And I'm certain that this is not the only place that this problem happens, because we know that to some degrees in certain places these police officers have to get quotas. I mean, and they always say that this is not a true statement. Well, we know to some degree that in these places these people have to make certain arrests. They have to have so many interactions with people. They have to make sure that certain things happen as part of their job. So if they start to be zealous with this and start to do things that are illegal or start to cause problems for people who are not committing crimes, then this is a major, major problem. And, I don't think, obviously, even in this story, THP has decided that they're really not going to do anything about it. They sent him a statement saying that, hey, our people are trained to do certain things, our people are doing the right thing. And then, of course, the mayor, I think it was stating that, they have certain things in place that's going to stop this. And obviously it hasn't. Obviously it hasn't stopped. And it's probably going to continue. And we have to understand that this has got to be happening in other places other than Tennessee. And if it is happening in other places than Tennessee, is anything being done about it? Because obviously nothing is being done about it in Tennessee. And it's a major problem. When you get caught for a DUI, that is a massive, massive disruption in your life. A massive disruption. About to lose her insurance. People who are drivers for certain jobs are going to lose their jobs. Lots of people a DUI could cause so many problems for a person you just wouldn't understand. So the fact that this is happening and people know about it and nothing is being done about it is a major issue. And we have to watch this because we always known that police have had a massive amount of authority over people to the point where they could destroy people's lives when their lives did not need to be destroyed. And we definitely have to put a stop to that. All right, guys, I'm going to let y'all get up out of here. It's a beautiful, beautiful Sunday. It's football Sunday. Go out there and enjoy some football games, and I'll talk to you soon. Please hit the like, share, subscribe button. I'm Chris Surratt, and I'm out. Peace.